I'm a registered dietitian, and me and my family, we order pizza every single week. I also go out to eat with my wife or with friends whenever I want to, and I never worry about gaining weight from restaurant meals. And I do this while maintaining a fairly low body fat percentage. But this doesn't happen by accident. I am able to do this because I've developed an approach to eating out over my 12 years as a dietitian that allows me to easily fit restaurant meals into my diet while still reaching my goals. Now, when many of my clients are working with me, they think I'm going to tell them that they're not allowed to eat out anymore. And they're often surprised to find that I don't really create strict rules around restaurant meals. My goal when working with clients and in every video that I put out on YouTube or Instagram is to share an approach to nutrition that's realistic and that it's also sustainable. The truth is that restaurant eating is going to be part of most people's lives, whether it's a special meal out for a celebration, a way to experience local culture when you're traveling, or a quick bite to eat when you have a hectic and busy day. So I teach my private coaching clients simple tips and hacks for eating out that they can use in all of these situations. And in today's video, I'm letting you in all my restaurant eating secrets for fat loss and the biggest reasons why you may not be accomplishing your goals because of it. So make sure you keep watching. Welcome back, guys. I'm your host. If this is your first time here, my name is Andres, and I'm a dietitian who works with busy dads like myself, drop weight and gain muscle without restricted diets or cutting carbs. To me, eating without restrictions means being able to incorporate restaurant meals and even fast food while still staying on track with your goals. Wouldn't you want that, honestly? A lot of people think that eating out in restaurants is completely off limits if you want to lose weight, and I get that. And while it's true that one of the first steps many people need to take at the beginning of a weight loss journey is to cut back on eating out, that also doesn't mean you have to eat every single meal at home. So today I'm going to take you through the steps for how to order in a restaurant when you're trying to lose weight. But there is something important that you need to understand about restaurant meals first. When you're eating out at a restaurant, it's never one single meal that it causes weight gain. To gain a pound of fat, you need to eat around 3,500 more calories than you're burning, and the likelihood of that happening in one meal is very low. Where we start to run into problems is when restaurant eating becomes frequent, which I would say as a general guideline is more than 3 meals out at a restaurant every single week. Then when we're having frequent restaurant meals, the main issue that causes weight gain is overeating at restaurants, which is very easy to do. There are 3 reasons people typically overeat at restaurants, which ends up costing them to go over their calorie intake or the calorie needs for the day. So let's go through what these reasons are, and then we get into the strategies to deal with each one of them. Reason number 1. The first reason for overeating has to do with restaurant meals themselves. It's not your fault. I mean, think about it. Restaurants typically care a lot more about how the food tastes and making sure you enjoy your meal enough to come back more than they do about your nutrition and the nutritional quality of what they're serving. And again, depends on the restaurant. And because of this, they'll often use large amounts of oils, butter, salt, and rich sauces to enhance the flavor of food, which means these meals can be very calorie dense. You might think you're eating a normal portion of a food, meaning an amount similar to what you've had at home, but the extra stuff added into it or the way certain things are cooked, it could be adding hundreds of extra calories than what you're actually seeing in front of you. The other issue with restaurant meals is that most don't serve anything close to normal portion sizes. Sometimes restaurant orders might contain half the calories you need in a day or even more because of how big these portions are. Take the Cheesecake Factory, for example. I don't think there's one single item on the menu that has less than 1,000 calories in it, even the healthier fare options. Reason number 2. The second reason for overeating at restaurants comes from the social environment itself. Typically, when we go out to eat with friends or family, we'll have longer meals, more opportunities to eat. Talking and socializing might distract you from your fullness cues, and you might be influenced to eat more or make choices that aren't as nutritious based on what everybody else at the table is doing. On top of that, if you're celebrating, it's easy to get into the mentality of seeing a restaurant meal as a reward and eating for that reason rather than just to simply satisfy your hunger. And here's reason number 3. The third big reason I see for overeating comes from the all or nothing dieting mentality. This is when people see a meal out at a restaurant or a takeout order as a cheat meal or a cheat day. And you might think, well, I'm not eating healthy anyway, so I might as well just eat whatever I want and get back on track with my diet tomorrow or on Monday, right? This typically triggers major overeating, way past the point of fullness, because you know there's going to be restriction again the next day. This pattern can be a huge progress killer, and it's the main reason I never recommend recommend calling something a cheat meal. So the question becomes how to eat out and still lose weight. But let's get into the tips and guidelines I personally follow and that I also teach all my clients to incorporate restaurant eating while losing weight, because it is completely possible to do this. But to make it happen, one of the most important factors is simply awareness. Restaurant meals are typically going to be higher in calories than the food you make at home. And one of the biggest problems I see is people eating out consistently without realizing how calorie dense their meals are going to be. When it comes down to weight loss, you need to be in a calorie deficit, meaning you're eating fewer calories than you're burning over a period of time. There's nothing wrong with the occasional higher calorie meal, but consistent restaurant meals without being aware of your calorie intake can make it very difficult to stay in that deficit. If you're trying to lose weight, my first recommendation is to try to keep the number of meals you eat out each week to 3 or less, particularly if you are new to this journey and you have no idea what you're doing and you're just starting to learn. If you're currently eating more than that, start working to slowly decrease that number. Again, it doesn't need to be 0 meals out, but aiming to cook more at home is a beneficial and attainable goal for most people. You have more control over what's on your plate and therefore easier to predict the weight loss that you want. Okay, let's get into the second important factor to consider here, which is portion control. I know this one can be hard when restaurants serve such massive portions, but you want to eat to the point of satiety, not until you're uncomfortably full. And when you're distracted, which is pretty common in a social setting, it's easier to eat past the point of fullness. One strategy you can use to prevent this is to divide your meal on your plate in 2. You can do this a couple ways. Once you finish the first half, you can use this as your cue to check in with your hunger levels. If you're still hungry, you can keep eating. But if not, you can pack up your food to take it home. A second way to do this is as soon as your meal is delivered, you can order a box to go and put half of your dish inside of that box so it's out of sight, out of mind. And now you're just simply forced to eat half of that plate, which in reality, it's probably more than enough for you. After portion sizes, now we can start to look at the actual food choices that you're making. You don't always have to pick the healthiest item on the menu, and you shouldn't really feel guilty about your food choices. But when you really want to stay focused on your weight loss goals, which I'm assuming is why you're watching this video, it can help you to follow a few simple steps to choose a meal that supports your goals. So let's get into some of those tips on things that you can implement for actually choosing fat loss friendly foods in restaurants. Number 1, I recommend taking a look at the menu ahead of time. Some restaurants might have their nutrition information posted online, particularly if it's a fast food chain or a large chain restaurant. If there is information posted, it makes it easier to find a meal that is lower in calories and higher in protein. For example, something that is anywhere between 600 to 800 calories and at least 25 to 40 grams of protein, it's a really solid goal to aim for. Now, if the nutrition information is not available online, looking ahead at the menu can still be helpful because you can choose something in advance and avoid being influenced by social pressure and the restaurant ambience, or perhaps even your hunger levels. Going in with the plan makes it a lot more likely that you'll make a choice that supports your goals rather than trying to make that decision in the moment. Now, let's go back to the point I made about not having nutrition information posted online. Here's some tips to follow that will help you choose a meal that's more calorie friendly. The first thing that I always look for and start with when I'm eating out is a source of lean protein. That might be something like chicken, turkey, maybe some seafood, or a plant-based protein source like tofu or tempeh. A higher protein meal will help you feel fuller and will help you feel more satisfied without overeating. The next thing I'm going to look at is a description of how the meal is cooked or the meal preparation method. In general, I want to choose foods that are either grilled, steamed, baked, roasted, broiled, or seared, and limit the meals that are fried, crispy, breaded, scalloped, or even sauteed sometimes in their descriptions. Because usually what those cooking methods mean is they're adding fat into them and most likely calories to cook them. Next, you want to consider sauces and condiments. Cream sauces and dressings are pretty calorie dense because of their higher fat content. For salads, I recommend ordering your dressing on the side, and then you can decide how much you want to add to your meal. Take, for example, Chick-fil-A. Their Kale Crunch salad, it's delicious, but it has over 600 calories. And you know where half of those calories are coming from? From the little packet, which is the dressing that they serve it to you with. So one thing you can do is get that on the side and you modify and adjust how much you're adding into it. Remember, it's okay to make modification to your meals, particularly when you're in a sit-down restaurant or you're ordering from a drive-thru. The worst that a servant can say is that they can't do what you're asking, but it never hurts to ask. Now, another big source of excess calories that many people fail to consider is liquid calories. If you're going to be drinking alcohol, I recommend sticking to one drink and having plenty of water to go along with it. Alcohol has 7 calories per gram, so it's pretty calorie dense on its own. And that doesn't even include the higher calorie mixers that are often added to these drinks. If you're looking for a calorie-friendly alcohol option, the best options or choices are going to be light beers, a glass of wine, particularly a Prosecco or something along those lines, hard seltzers, champagne, vodka sodas, rum and Diet Coke, or a skinny margarita. If you're not drinking alcohol and sticking to soda, go for diet options or have sparkling water with lemon or lime. One additional note to make about alcohol is that on top of the liquid calories from alcohol, the other reason I recommend limiting your intakes of drinks is that multiple drinks can cause you to make poor food decisions, leading to that extra overeating and tons of extra calories. I mean, think about it. When you get tipsy, you start to snack a lot more, you want to eat a little bit more stuff, it just so happens. And finally, when the dessert menu comes around, my recommendation is to share dessert or skip dessert altogether if you want to cut calories even more. Okay, now that you have some general restaurant eating guidelines that you can use wherever you go out to eat, I wanted to go through a few of my favorite restaurants where you can stick to your goals and still enjoy a tasty meal. Let's start with Chipotle, or any type of bowl type restaurants. I love these places because you can build your own plate. You can have a salad base, you can have a whole grain, typically they have those choices, you can choose a lean protein and add as many vegetables as possible, and also ordering your dressing on the side. So you have a bit more control of what is added inside of that plate. Now, I live in Florida, in Tampa, and there's a place here called Sweet Green, which I think is national. Obviously, I love Chipotle, and they also have a place called Fresh Kitchen, which is local. The second type of restaurants I recommend, or specifics that I recommend, believe it or not, are fast food chain restaurants. Now, not all of them. You'd be like, what? This guy's recommending fast food chain restaurants? Yes, because places like Taco Bell, Chick-fil-A, and even McDonald's, they offer options that can fit someone's diet very well right now because they're trying to be a little bit more calorie conscious. Besides that, because they are chain restaurants, they are required to list their calories on their menu, so it's easier to plan accordingly. And obviously, sit-down restaurants, and the ones that I recommend the most are typically going to be steakhouses or those type of restaurants that have a larger menu variety with a lot more options that you can choose from. Now that we cover all of my top tips for healthy restaurant eating, I want to finish off today's video with a reminder that you can actually order anything you want from any restaurant, no matter what your goals are. As long as you understand how to manage your calories, it is completely possible to stay in line with your macro and calorie needs for weight loss while fitting whatever food you want into your diet. I alluded to that a little bit earlier. That said, there are certain food items that are very calorie dense, which can make it harder to stay in a calorie deficit, and that's why I wanted to create this video. It's not to make you feel restricted in your choices, but it's to give you the knowledge and the tools to cut out some extra calories while eating out and make strategic choices for your fat loss goals. When I'm working with my one-on-one clients, the most important thing to me isn't getting them results fast, although they do typically see results faster than expected, often losing around 15 to 30 pounds in as little as 12 weeks. But what I really care about is building a plan that is realistic, that is sustainable, and something that they can use not only to build the lean, muscular body that they want right now, but also to maintain it long term. And if something is going to be sustainable long term, it needs to accommodate for eating out occasionally. I mean, after 12 years as a dietitian, I've supported hundreds of clients in reaching their weight loss goals without feeling restricted or sacrificing their social life. If you want to learn how do we do this and you want in the action, I put together a free video, and it's a training and masterclass that takes you through the 3-step process that busy parents, particularly dads, are using inside of my VIP coaching program to shed the excess weight without fad diets, fasting, or cutting carbs. I'm going to drop that link in the description if you want to watch that training. But that is everything I have for you today, folks. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you're coming away from this feeling confident about the best choices to make next time you are at a restaurant. If you want to see more videos like this about healthy restaurant eating or anything similar to this, leave a comment below and let me know. Or if you have any questions specifically about other topics, make sure you drop them as well. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, guys. Like, the more people that subscribe, the more people that can see my stuff and the more I show up. And I honestly feel like what I provide in here is pretty good value for the time that you're spending in here with me. So I appreciate you if you're a subscriber, and if not, make sure you hit that icon down below. There's a new video that comes out every single Tuesday. That's all for now. I'll see you next time.